Hi, I'm Shelby from Education Elements. I'm a former educator who became a policy researcher, who became a consultant. And what that means is so much of the guidance that I give to school leaders and school district leaders is driven by my belief that data play an important role in the decisions we make, and therefore in the educational experiences of our students and their families. In this video, I'm going to talk about how a theory of action can be a great way to identify the right indicators to measure progress in your strategic plan. We'll also talk about how data can be a critical input that you need for executing the strategies that you have included in your plan. First, I want to tell you about my son. He's 8 years old, and like many of the kids across the country, we started second grade this year at home. And my husband and I both work, and so we decided we needed Miles to be more independent and more self-reliant so that we could focus the time we did have to spend with him on helping him with his schoolwork. So we set a goal. We felt like, in particular, he could be more independent in the mornings. Then we made a list of the decisions that he would need to make on his own. He would need to decide when to wake up. He would need to decide what to wear. He would need to decide what kinds of resources and materials he needed for the day. We identified the kind of information he would need that he doesn't always have right now. He doesn't always know what time it is. He doesn't always know what the weather is. And so we knew we needed to get him that information. And the final decision we had to make was the best way to get him that information so that he understood it on his own. He didn't need any interpretation from us, and it would empower him to make those decisions for himself. A theory of action is a logical chain of reasoning that lays out how a set of practices will produce results that have a desired impact. A theory of action can also build confidence that the changes we're seeing are actually attributed to the program that we implemented, creating a causal correlation. They evaluate things like fidelity of implementation. How accurately did we implement what we planned to? What was the effectiveness of that program? Did it produce the results we were intending to see? And what's the impact of those results? Did it have the lasting impact or the long-term impact that we thought it would whenever we decided to implement that program to begin with? Let's apply this framework back to the story about my son. Our theory of action was that if we could give him access to the time of day, the materials that he needed for the day, and access to the weather, that he could get himself ready in the morning, and that might inspire more independence and self-reliance in other parts of his life as well. Some indicators that we could use to evaluate how that theory of action is going, we could look at fidelity. We could evaluate how many mornings he's actually getting access to that information. Can he get the information? Can he understand it without us? We could look at effectiveness. Is that actually leading to him getting ready by himself most mornings? And then we can look at some impact indicators, like, are we actually seeing independence and more self-reliance in other parts of his life as well? In any strategic plan, there's going to be critical pieces of information that you have to make available to the people that you're asking to execute against these strategies. And it's important to ask, as a strategic planning team, what is that information and how do we make it available to them? For example, if one of the strategies in your strategic plan is to provide more personalized learning experiences for your students, what information do teachers need about those students in order to make those personalized instruction decisions to improve those engagement experiences? Now, let's practice writing a theory of action. Think about a program that you want to implement. List the specific changes you'd like to see by implementing that program and what you think those long-term impacts could be as a result of those changes. If you have time, think about some indicators that you could pay attention to decide whether or not the program was actually implemented with fidelity or as you intended, whether or not those changes you wanted to see are happening, and to get a sense of what the long-term impact of those changes are. Thanks so much for watching. As a recap, we talked today about how a theory of action can help you make sure that you identify the right indicators to measure progress in your strategic plan. One thing to keep in mind, this theory of action, it's important to revisit it to make sure that the one you originally wrote still makes sense for your team and for your district. Thanks so much.